highlight Patty the Batty. I like this dude. I mean, I thought that his fight was entertaining. He was almost hurt. He says he's a sorcerer. They don't get knocked out.
All right, so I'm very sorry for being gone for so long. I was traveling all throughout December, and then I was planning on uploading last week, but then I got laid off from my job last week, so that got in the way of things. But the good news is I don't have a job right now, so I have a lot of time to make videos. Anyways, we have officially entered the UFC on Paramount era, and I think that the first event on the new deal went okay. Like, thank God the main event went the way that it did, because otherwise this card would have been aggressively mediocre. But for Dana White, the real fights were all the ones that he had to deal with in the days leading into UFC 324, because this fight week was a PR disaster for the company. We had Kayla Harrison pulling out, guys were passing out during weigh-ins, which is a terrible look, another betting scandal, and Justin Gaethje openly beefing with the UFC over fighter pay. This was anything but a smooth week for Dana, and even though some things did go his way, I'm willing to bet that he's glad this first Paramount event is behind him, and yeah, in this video I'm going to be talking about all this and more. But first, let's talk about Dana's wins for the week. Do not worry, this will not take long. The biggest one that comes to mind is that Sean O'Malley is back in the win column. The UFC absolutely needed this to happen when they matched him up against Song Yadong and not Umar Nurmagomedov or Corey Sandhagen. Now, I've seen a lot of people complain that Sean got gifted another decision by the judges, but I have no fucking clue what fight these people watched. I definitely thought O'Malley won rounds 1 and 3 pretty clearly. I will be the first one to say that I was not particularly impressed by his performance, considering how I don't really think that Song is all that great of a fighter. I mean, he's definitely good, but I don't understand how the guy is the number 5 ranked bantamweight in the world when the best win of his career was over the withered husk of Henry Cejudo, where he won by eye poke. I thought that this was going to be a cakewalk for O'Malley going into the fight, but his performance did feel a bit underwhelming. Honestly, after round 2, I was convinced that Sean was crumbling and he was going to lose the fight, but Yadong ended up throwing it all away because this guy didn't do shit in round 3. I don't know if he was hurt or if he somehow thought he was up 2-0 already, but as someone who thought it was 1-1 going into the third, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I guess I shouldn't be surprised that a team alpha male fighter yet again shows that they have room temperature fight IQ, but you'd think that the guy would have the awareness to try and end the fight strong instead of whatever the fuck this was. Regardless, Sean did just barely enough to get the win, and that's good for Dana. I would say that the main event between Justin Gaethje and Paddy Pimblett was also a good look for Dana, and it was an incredible fight, but there is no way that he's happy with the result. There is a reason why the UFC paired up Paddy against Justin and not Max Holloway, Charles Oliveira, or Arman Sarukian. They knew this was the easiest path they could have given him in order to get to a title fight against Ilia Topuria, and this shit did not go the way that they were hoping it would. I mean, just listen to Dana talk about Paddy's performance.
I don't think that his game plan was the greatest. Obviously, tonight he showed he is tough, he is durable, and almost impossible. I mean, especially against Gaethje. And you're eating those punches from him. It's one thing to say, listen, I'm going to come out. I know I believe in my durability. I believe in my chin, and I'm going to go toe-to-toe with this guy. But when it starts to not work, at some point you got to say, you know what? It's the third round. I got 2 rounds left. I might want to try to take him down and submit him here.
Tell us you wanted Paddy to win without telling us you wanted Paddy to win. They tried to set this guy up to be an interim title holder, even though there's 3 guys that deserved it more than him, and Gaethje ruined their plans, and to that I say good. Look, I've come to respect Paddy as a fighter enough over the years, but I'm sick and tired of the UFC giving preferential treatment and favorable matchups to the guys that they think will attract more casual fans. That being said, I think Pimblett did a pretty good job. He landed a lot of good strikes, and he showed that he belongs towards the top of the division, and I think that we can all agree that he has the heart of a lion. It was inevitable that Paddy's first UFC loss was coming sooner rather than later, but if he got beat up this badly against a 38-year-old Justin Gaethje, could you imagine how much worse it would have been if he fought Max or even Arman? Until Paddy learns to not stick his chin straight up in the air when he's throwing punches, the UFC better keep him far away from the elite lightweights. And that's basically it. The first Paramount card only had like 1.5 things that were good for Dana. I guess he did mention that the viewership on this card was nearly double the amount that they were expecting, which if true is great, but it's Dana, so who knows if it's actually true or not. Yeah, speaking of Justin Gaethje, this guy has officially positioned himself as public enemy number 1 to the UFC this week after he openly complained about fighter pay.
Oh man, to have 14 bonuses and not equal up to $1 million, it's not right. It's not right. It should be a lot more than that, and I should have had opportunities to do smarter things with my money, but I don't, and I haven't. And to this day, everyone's, I hear Daniel Cormier saying that everybody's going to get paid more on this card. I'm not getting $1 more than I would have if this deal did not happen.
And then when he was asked about Gaethje's comments, Dana pulled this pathetic-ass lie out of his bald head.
Because Gaethje did come out and chit-chat about maybe the finances of the entire situation.
And Gaethje, without getting into all that stuff, Gaethje was offered more money, and Gaethje never responded.
Okay, so obviously there's behind the scenes of business deals. I hope you and Gaethje figure it out. But the main event.
This guy is such a clown. Does anybody actually believe the idea that after contracts had already been signed, the UFC then went back to negotiate with Justin to offer him more money and then he just never responded? The stupidity of this lie genuinely hurts my head. There is no way that Mr. Krabs would feel the need to offer more money after everything was already agreed to. And then we had Ariel Helwani and Luke Thomas criticizing the UFC for not increasing fighter pay like they said they would, and maybe this was actually enough to get the company to restructure their bonuses, because now performance bonuses have been increased to $100,000 and each finish on the card will be $25,000, which I think is a great step in the right direction.
It was for every finish.
So what has been happening forever in this company since you know, we started this company is every night I would tell you guys, oh, these guys won these bonuses, but everybody on the card would get a check for different dollar amounts depending on how they fought, ranging anywhere from $5,000 to $25,000 every event. So those are going away, and now, you know, finishes will get a $25,000 bonus.
If I'm not mistaken, a total of $450,000 in bonuses were paid out from last night, and I think that the finish bonuses in particular are going to make at least the prelim fights much more exciting. I can't help but wonder how much or how little these changes had to do with one of the main event fighters and the most exciting fighter on the roster openly complaining about how little he's been paid throughout his career, but I'd like to think that this is one of those times where online bullying saved the day. So unless you've been living under a rock, you've probably seen the very viral video of Cameron Smotherman collapsing immediately after stepping off the scale. Obviously, extreme weight cutting is dangerous, but I'm not going to pretend like this is a UFC specific problem, because literally every combat sport has guys that are doing it. It really is just an ugly and unfortunate aspect of the fight game that kind of comes along with the territory. I do agree with a lot of fans that it's at least worth testing same day weigh-ins to prevent guys losing like 15 pounds the day before they fight, but the thing is, according to Smotherman, he didn't even cut that much weight.
I'm not entirely sure what happened. I see a lot of you know, people online saying, oh, it's crazy weight cuts, stuff like that. I genuinely didn't cut very much weight for this fight. I came in, you know, pretty low, but even, you know, over the course of this week, I haven't cut much weight. I'm not entirely sure what happened, and I have some more tests and stuff to take.
I don't know much about this guy, so I'm gonna take his word for it, but at the same time, he didn't look all that great on the scale, so a part of me is wondering how truthful he's being. This was a scary situation, and I'm not gonna blame the UFC for this happening, but there is no doubt in my mind that Dana's CBS overlords had a panic attack when they saw this happen on the very first weigh-in of the new deal, and I'm sure that they were blowing up his phone. And then there was the Michael Johnson situation. Just a couple of hours before the event started, Michael Johnson versus Alexander Hernandez was canceled without any explanation from the UFC. However, the online betting community made it clear that there was unusual betting line shifts that indicated something suspicious. This was then confirmed by Dana in the post-fight press conference.
Lastly, for me, we did have a fight cancellation today. Not a lot of details on the information of what happened there. There's speculation that maybe this was a wagering flag. What can you tell us?
That's what it is. Happened again. You know, we got called from you know, the Gaming Integrity Service, and I said, I'm not doing this shit again. So we pulled the fight.
First off, it's a bummer that this fight got scrapped because I was actually looking forward to this one quite a bit, but the UFC did the right thing by not letting it happen. I'm glad they learned from their mistakes from the Isaac Dolgarian situation from a couple of months ago, where they even knew that something weird was going on and they still let the fight take place. Now, I'm gonna put my conspiracy theorist hat on and ask you this. Does this explain Michael Johnson's entire career? Has this guy been throwing fights his entire career? Because this would actually explain so much. Obviously, Michael Johnson has been a meme amongst UFC fans for years now, because on some days he fights like he can beat Optimus Prime, and then on other days he'd lose to the Teletubbies, but the more I think about it, the more reasonable it seems that he's been throwing fights this entire time. For legal purposes, I will add that I'm not definitively saying that he throws fights, but if any long-standing UFC fighter has a career worth questioning, it's definitely Michael's. And just zooming out a little bit, seeing as the Dolgarian scandal happened just barely over 2 months ago, it begs the question how often this type of shit is happening in the UFC without us knowing. And again, the fact that this happened on the first card of the Paramount era is just more headaches for Dana and his team that I'm sure that they didn't want to have to deal with. Yeah, this was definitely one of the weirder fight weeks in recent memory. We lost 2 fights in the days leading up to the event for pretty unique reasons. Justin Gaethje was visibly pissed off at everyone around him whenever he was in front of cameras, and just based on Dana's overall vibe during the Zuffa Boxing post-fight press conference that took place on Friday, I think it seemed pretty obvious that he just wanted last week to be over. A part of me even believes that he announced the new bonus structure so that the UFC could get some decent PR, because that entire last week was full of negative headlines. I mean, it's great that UFC 324 ended on a positive note given how exciting the main event was, but even then, it's very clearly not the result that Dana wanted, seeing as his most disgruntled employee at the moment came out on top. I don't know, new year, new era, same Dana and same old me, because as long as this guy keeps acting like Mr. Krabs and lying to our faces whenever his lips are moving, I'm gonna keep hating on the guy. Anyways, that's the video for today. Definitely let me know your thoughts on UFC 324. Do you think the card was a success even in spite of all the hurdles during fight week? And what are your thoughts on the first Paramount card as a whole? As always, if you like the video, then like the video. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do so. I appreciate you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.
Number one, is that true? Justin Gaethje, is that true? Were you offered a contract? And is it true that you did not respond? And if it is in fact true that you did not respond, why not? Why didn't you respond? If the answer to the first question is, I never received anything, well, then we have to go to Ali Abdelaziz, and we know he loves doing media, and ask him, did you receive a contract offer? And if the answer to that is yes, why didn't you extend that offer to your client? And if the answer to that is no, well, then someone is clearly lying here. But this isn't just the same as like a fight booking that we're talking about later. One guy came out 24 hours ago, a headliner, and said, my pay didn't go up. Dana White 24 hours later says, no, we did offer you a new deal and you didn't respond?